Let me start with a simple question. How many times have we promised ourselves, from tomorrow I will change? Tomorrow comes, but the change doesn't. And slowly, silently, disappointment starts living inside us. Not because we lack talent, not because we lack intelligence, but because we lack consistency. Most of us don't fail because we don't know what to do. We fail because we don't do what we already know. Every day, we collect advice like trophies, but when it comes to showing up consistently, suddenly the energy disappears. And then we start believing a dangerous lie. Maybe I'm not meant for this. But the truth is much simpler and much kinder. You are not inconsistent because you are weak. You are inconsistent because you are human. We often wait for motivation to arrive before we act. But motivation doesn't work like a switch you can turn on. It's more like a shadow. It follows action, not intention. On the days you feel least inspired, those are the days your character is being built. Even a small step taken on a difficult day carries more power than a big step taken on an easy one. Consistency is not about doing extraordinary things. It's about doing ordinary things with extraordinary commitment. Many people set goals that excite the ego but exhaust the soul. They aim too high, too fast, and when the excitement fades, they give up completely. Progress loves simplicity. When your daily effort feels manageable, your mind stops resisting and starts cooperating. 1 page read every day creates a reader. 5 minutes of silence every day creates clarity. Tiny actions, repeated daily, quietly shape destiny. Our environment plays a bigger role in our consistency than we like to admit. We blame ourselves, but we ignore the distractions around us. A cluttered space creates a cluttered mind. When temptations are closer than your goals, consistency becomes a daily battle. Design your surroundings in a way that supports the person you want to become. When the environment changes, effort reduces. There will be days when you miss your routine. That is not the problem. The problem begins when you miss twice and tell yourself it doesn't matter. Consistency is not about never falling. It's about not getting comfortable on the ground. Showing up imperfectly is still showing up. A broken chain can be repaired, but only if you care enough to pick it up again. Results take time, and that is where most people lose patience. We want instant rewards in a process that demands silent faith. Growth happens quietly, often invisibly. Just like roots grow before fruits appear, your effort is working even when you can't see the outcome. Trust what you are practicing daily. It is becoming who you are. And finally, be gentle with yourself, but firm with your direction. Forgive your mistakes, learn from them, and continue walking. Consistency is not a personality trait, it is a daily choice. When you choose to show up again and again, you don't just change your habits, you slowly change your life. We often admire people who are consistent and assume they have something special that we don't. We think they are more disciplined, more focused, or more gifted. But consistency is not a gift, it is a practice. It is built quietly, day by day, through simple decisions that don't look impressive in the moment. The difference between someone who stays consistent and someone who doesn't is not talent, it is patience with the process. One of the biggest reasons we struggle to stay consistent is because we expect every day to feel the same. We want the same enthusiasm, the same energy, the same excitement. But life doesn't work that way. Some days you wake up inspired, and some days you wake up tired. Consistency means you respect your commitment more than your mood. You don't ask yourself, how do I feel today? You ask yourself, what did I promise myself? That shift in thinking changes everything. Many people confuse intensity with consistency. They give everything for a few days and then disappear for weeks. Intensity impresses others, but consistency transforms you. A calm, steady effort may not get applause, but it creates results that last. When you slow down and focus on sustainability instead of speed, your journey becomes peaceful instead of stressful. Another challenge is comparison. We look at someone else's progress and start questioning our own pace. But growth is personal. Your chapter 1 cannot be compared to someone else's chapter 10. When you measure yourself against others, you drain your energy. When you measure yourself against who you were yesterday, you build confidence. Consistency grows best in an atmosphere of self-acceptance. Your surroundings also influence your ability to stay consistent. If your phone distracts you, it's not a lack of discipline, it's a lack of boundaries. If your routine feels chaotic, it's not because you are careless, it's because there is no structure. When you simplify your life, consistency becomes easier. Remove what pulls you away from your goals, and staying on track stops feeling like a struggle. There will be moments when you break your routine and feel disappointed in yourself. In those moments, don't be harsh. Harshness leads to quitting. Compassion leads to continuation. Acknowledge the slip, understand the reason, and gently return. Consistency is not about proving something to the world, it's about honoring a promise to yourself. Over time, something beautiful happens. The effort that once felt heavy starts feeling natural. What began as discipline slowly becomes identity. You don't force yourself anymore. You simply become the kind of person who shows up, and when showing up becomes part of who you are, success stops being a question of if and becomes a matter of when. Many times we tell ourselves that we want to be consistent, but deep inside, we are not clear about what consistency really means. We think it means pushing ourselves every single day with the same energy, the same enthusiasm, and the same strength. But consistency is not about force, it is about flow. It is about learning how to move forward even when the heart feels heavy and the mind feels tired. Most people wait for the perfect moment to begin. They wait for the right mood, the right time, the right circumstances. But the perfect moment is a myth. Life will always offer reasons to delay. Consistency begins the day you decide to act despite the noise around you. When you stop negotiating with your excuses, progress quietly enters your life. We often underestimate the power of small efforts. We believe that if something is important, it must be difficult. But real change happens when effort feels simple enough to repeat. A small habit done every day carries more strength than a big effort done once in a while. Consistency grows when your actions are realistic, not heroic. When you choose actions you can honor daily, you build trust with yourself, and that trust becomes your strongest motivation. Another reason consistency breaks is because we focus too much on outcomes. We keep checking results and asking, is this working? But growth does not follow our timeline. The mind wants proof, life asks for patience. When you shift your attention from results to routine, pressure reduces. The journey becomes lighter and consistency becomes natural. Distractions are not the enemy, unawareness is. We live in a world that constantly pulls our attention in different directions. If you don't decide where your energy goes, it will be decided for you. Creating simple boundaries protects your consistency. When you respect your time starts respecting you back. There will be days when you fail to follow your plan. On those days, the most important choice is how you speak to yourself. If your inner voice becomes harsh, the journey becomes painful. But if your inner voice becomes encouraging, you find the strength to continue. Falling does not break consistency, giving up does. Learn, adjust, and move forward. Slowly, consistency changes something deeper than your habits. It changes your self-image. You start seeing yourself as someone reliable, someone committed, someone who doesn't abandon themselves easily. And that belief creates momentum. When consistency becomes part of your identity, discipline no longer feels like effort. It feels like alignment. And in that alignment, growth becomes inevitable. We all want to stay consistent, but very few of us are taught how to do it with kindness and wisdom. Often, we approach consistency with pressure, as if we are fighting against ourselves. We push, we force, and when we feel tired, we judge ourselves. But consistency is not built through punishment, it is built through understanding. When you understand yourself, your patterns, and your limits, consistency stops feeling like a burden and starts feeling like a companion. One of the biggest misunderstandings about consistency is that it requires equal effort every day. Some days you will be strong, some days you will be weak. Consistency does not demand equality of effort, it asks for sincerity of intention. Even on days when you can do very little, doing that little with honesty keeps the journey alive. A gentle step forward is always better than standing still. We also struggle because we make consistency dependent on external validation. When people notice our efforts, we continue. When they don't, we slow down. But consistency grows when your actions are rooted in self-respect rather than applause. When you do something because it aligns with who you want to become, recognition becomes optional, not necessary. Another challenge is the fear of monotony. We feel bored repeating the same actions daily. But repetition is not boredom, it is refinement. Each repetition improves your awareness, your skill, and your presence. Just like water shapes stone not by force but by persistence, your daily actions shape your future through quiet repetition. Sometimes inconsistency is not laziness, it is emotional exhaustion. When the heart is overwhelmed, the body resists. In those moments, the solution is not to quit, but to pause and reflect. Ask yourself what needs care, not what needs control. When you nourish yourself emotionally, consistency returns naturally. There will be moments when you look back and feel that the progress is slow. In those moments, remember that consistency works in layers. The first layer builds discipline, the second builds confidence, and the third builds character. Even when visible results are missing, inner strength is forming. That strength will support you when challenges grow bigger. As time passes, consistency stops being something you chase and becomes something you embody. You no longer rely on motivation or mood. You simply show up because that is who you are. And when consistency becomes part of your identity, life begins to respond differently. Opportunities align, confidence deepens, and growth becomes steady. In the end, consistency is not about becoming perfect. It is about becoming present. Showing up again and again, with patience and faith, transforms ordinary days into an extraordinary life. Remember this: you don't need a perfect day. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need perfect motivation. You only need one decision to show up today. Because when you stay consistent, you don't just change your habits. You change your identity. And once your identity changes, your life has no option but to follow.